Johnston got a kick out of Mr. Furman last night with his retrograde comments. So I just want to throw out there that Mercury went retrograde as of January 21st, and this remains there until Wednesday, February 11th of this year. Anything dealing with communication, broadcasting, electronics, automobiles. This is also on a negative chain reactions with accidents happening. The time to be very, very careful in those areas. When you take the road, it will take a toll on many if they're not awake and aware of it. Also, the past comes back to life, so you may come across people from your past, get-togethers with old high school friends or something like that, phone calls from people you've known for 20 years back, 30 years back. But on a negative too, it also creates aeronautical disasters. So buy your airline tickets in good stars. Mercury retrograde will not affect you. With that being said, I'm hoping that we'll have a good show because Mercury's retrograde and it's hell for us broadcasters. So, without any further ado, tonight I am joined by a fellow DTM radio host here at DTM Wicked Radio. His name is Bill Bachman, and he is the host of Incubi Incarnate Broadcasting, which you can hear right here on DTM Wicked every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern. And on Friday nights at 7 p.m., you can hear his show on www.incubineincarnate.com. Bill, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Linda. Thanks for having me on here.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining me. I know it was a last-minute thing, and I always try to get hosts from the network at least, 4 or 5 times a year. I try to get some hosts to, let my listening audience listen to your shows as well, because your shows are very, very interesting. Cryptozoology, UFOlogy, the paranormal. It's right up my alley. I'm sure it's up my listeners' alleys as well. So tell me, Bill, I was reading your little bio, and it said that you were a skeptic for a great many years in this field.
Oh, absolutely. My interests were always ufology, aliens, even some cryptozoology, but I wasn't a huge believer in ghosts or that kind of thing. But I had my own little encounter, and it changed my whole outlook on that part of it.
If that's usually what happens for a great many, I noticed so many paranormal investigators were skeptics in the beginning. I'm not all, but some, a great many I've talked to, they've said, I never believed in anything until, this happened to me. Tell me a little bit about your show, because I'm fascinated with you have a lot of interesting topics. Maybe I want my listening audience to kind of know some of the things you touch on your show.
Absolutely. We have a range. We talk about, ghost investigations. We have ghost hunters on. We have cryptozoologists on. We have ufologists on. We have shamans on. We pop culture people. Just if it's anything pop culture or paranormal, then we try to cover it. It's just a blast. In a lot of this, because I'm no expert on anything, so a lot of this I'm learning as our listeners learn, and we approach it that way too. We kind of educate some of the people that are like me that aren't experts on everything. Ask some basic questions and go into more advanced questions, but just a entire broad spectrum of anything paranormal and pop culture.
I try and keep my show like that too. A potpourri of metaphysical and paranormal stuff keeps your options open. You cover all kinds of things and not limited to just astrology or there's a whole other world beyond astrology, UFOs, the paranormal, cryptozoology, Bigfoot, the New Jersey Devil.
Right.
But,
right.
you know, let me ask you, you're a paranormal investigator on the side. You do that part-time, or is that a full-time hobby? Or
No, actually, I have. This is one of the little twists to our show. I've never been on investigation. That's nothing I've ever been into. You know, like where I grew up, it's just not a prevalent thing. And like, I love the TV shows and I like all that, but I'm not an investigator. I've never.
Okay.
I've never been on an investigation.
Well, you know, that's good. You kind of have an advantage then from others because you're seeing things from the outside in, as to our investigators. You know, we're all in the box and seeing on the out. You know, looking from the outside inside. You know. Wow. Well, let me ask you this. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was going to say, you're an investigator? Do you go on investigation?
I do it part-time. I'm not, you know, I consider myself a novice, and I mean that literally. I haven't been doing it for a great many years or anything like that, but I probably go on about 4 or 5 a year with certain groups. I go with one up in Yuba City. I've gone to the Hornet and done one. I've done some local residential ones as well that I don't discuss because they're kind of, you know, old Italian Catholics don't want, you know, to know that the Spreakers come into their house to rid the ghosts for them. But I do some investigations. It's fun. Sometimes it, you know, like I went on the Hornet a couple of months ago, and I think it kicked my ass. It just could not handle a certain room with all these over 100+ sailors had died, and I could just feel the energy, and it was just bizarre. I never felt that weird on an investigation in my entire life.
Oh, wow. How many investigations do you think you've been on?
I'm going to go with probably 8. I've been on about 8, and one UFO Skywatch that I did with another fellow host here at DTM, Christina George and Renee Chavez. I went on a Skywatch with them. God, that was probably a year and a half ago, June of 2013. We did night vision goggles, and we stayed up all night, and we're not alone in this universe. It convinced me right then and there that night that
we're not at all.
We're not alone in any sense of the way, and the heavens were very active that night. And it's amazing what those night vision goggles can do, because with the naked eye, you look up and you don't see anything. You put these goggles on and you look up, and we had an advantage because we didn't have to wear goggles. They had attached it to a big screen TV outside, so everyone could just sit and look at the TV, and you could see the stars, and you could see things moving in the sky. It was really very incredible. That's one thing I recommend everyone get an opportunity to do. Go and do a night watch with those night vision goggles. If anyone's into the UFO thing, it's amazing.
I would love to do that because I'm fascinated with ufology and things like that. And Christina, that you worked with, she's super nice. I've talked to her a little bit on social media, but
yeah, she's wonderful.
Yeah,
she's very very good at it too. She's her and Renee have done a lot of investigations, both paranormal and UFO. I would personally like to do more UFO stuff. I'm fascinated. Ever since I was a kid, I've been fascinated with outer space. I'm a big Star Wars fan. That might explain some things.
Well, I am too. But like you imagine the Sahara Desert, and like one grain of sand, that's Earth. It's stupid to think that there's nothing else out there. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, it would be arrogant of us as humans, and there are some that are...
Oh, my God. I use that word all the time. I always say it's arrogant to think that we're the only thing here. That's awesome.
It's true, though. It would be arrogant of us as human beings to think that we are the only species, the only life form in the galaxy. The solar system is so vast, and there's things that haven't even been discovered by our scientists. I'm almost convinced that we share their DNA. Sometimes I think they're our maker. I mean, we can correlate the hidden scriptures of the Bible into this, where, if those scriptures had been put into the Bible, humanity would be very different today. Things have been kept from us. Knowledge and information, I think, has been kept from us. What's your take on that, Bill?
Oh, my God. It's like you listen to... I co-hosted a show last Sunday with a great friend of ours, Rocky Stucci. That's what we were talking about, and we're, like, preaching to the choir. I told him, we're like hybrids. I don't think we're entirely Earthen. You know what I mean? Like, even if it's like on a cellular level from asteroids or comets or whatever, we're not. Everything isn't. Human isn't just from Earth. I think, and I don't like freaking people out or turning off listeners of my show. Right. But it's. I think we're kind of hybrids. Like, I think we're made up of a bunch of different things. Not all of it's from Earth.
I agree with that. Absolutely. It's funny you bring that up. I don't watch a whole lot of ridiculous stuff on TV, except for the mob wives. That's my only weakness. My mob wives. I love it. I feel like I'm Staten Island. But I watch a lot of different weird UFO shows. I spend a great deal of time watching interesting stuff on TV, and I was just watching this thing. I can't remember what it's got to either be like an Ancient Aliens or it was a History Channel or a sci-fi thing about how they think that the Sphinx in Egypt was rebuilt to put a human face on it. 12,000 years ago, there was actually the underworld. I'm not very good at my Egyptian mythology here, but it was a face of one of the gods. I think it was the ruler of the underworld. I think that's the jackal. Anybody in my chat can elaborate on which god this was? That would be excellent, because I can only remember Isis, Osiris, and Ra. Bill, do you have any idea which god I'm talking about?
All these shows, I remember everything, and I remember taking history and everything, but I can't keep everything straight. I mean, I hate to speculate. I hate to try to get it.
Me too. All I know is they found evidence that the Sphinx was built more than 5,000 years ago, as it says in, I guess, theologian history or theologian philosophy, that the limestone dates back far greater and far older, and that the face looks like it was rebuilt or restructured to create a human face instead of an alien face of some sort. That's where they were going with this. Wow. They didn't want to freak out humans. I wish I could remember what the name of the show. Sometimes I can't sleep, so I sit up at 1, 2 in the morning and watch these crazy shows and go and give myself ideas for radio shows. It's like, ooh, gotta try that.
No, but some of those shows are awesome. Have you seen how they've tried to recreate cuts in granite and things like that they did back 5,000 years ago that we can't do now with our technology?
I know. I've seen that. That just floors me. Especially the Egyptians. They were very advanced racist people, if you want to call them a race. Racist people. I mean, even the whole thing with the pyramids. I'm sorry, Israelites did not build those pyramids. I think there was I don't want to say higher power, because then that insults certain other people, but it was definitely an extraterrestrial presence, in my opinion.
Well, can't you kind of see that with the hieroglyphics, even with the technology we have today, with the cranes, with the machinery, with everything we have today, you know how hard it would be to build some of those pyramids? You know how much some of those stones weigh that they built the pyramids with?
I know. It's amazing. And even the whole mummification and embalming,
exactly.
Yeah. Amazing. I've spent a lot of time going to, there's an Egyptian museum near me, an hour away in another town called San Jose, and it's called the Rosicrucian Museum. And every time I go there, I'm in awe of these people and what they've created. And even the whole mummification process, some of them look, better than the living I've seen.
Right, yeah. You're in California?
I'm in California.
California? Okay.
Yep, that museum's in California. At the San Jose Rosicrucian Museum. I think you can find it online. And they've just redecorated it and expanded it, and they've even made like a praying temple for people to go. I think they're even opening a school to get an education and become part of the Order of the Rosicrucian. The Rosicrucians themselves are very interesting people, too.
That's what I was going to just ask. What is that? What is Rosicrucian?
I'm not quite sure, so I'm not going to elaborate on something I don't know too much about. I had a friend who was involved with it many years ago, and I can't remember all the things she said about it, but it is a positive. I think it's a lot about enlightenment, but I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with the order of it, what it is exactly, but I sure do love the museum. I could spend hours there.
But I mean, Rosicrucian, is it Middle Eastern? Is it
Egyptian? I believe it's Egyptian. Rosicrucian is Egyptian. I'm trying to Google it right now so that I can, maybe give some of my listeners something here. It says here the Rosicrucian Order is a community of seekers who study and practice the metaphysical laws of governing the universe. That's very interesting. And the website I got it off of, I'm going to copy, paste, and put it in the chat for all you guys if you want to look it up at your own leisure. It is a very interesting topic. And your girlfriend's right on it. She got all the information. All right, Daniela. Good job.
That's what she does. She's an overachiever. Golly.
Well, go ahead.
Between 1607 and 1616, I was wondering if maybe Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, even current Michio Kaku, I wonder if they subscribe to this or if they were part of the order. I don't know. It's definitely something, worth researching, I guess, It says here that the Rosicrucian is also like a secret society at one time. It was a philosophical secret society said to have been found in late medieval Germany by Christian Rosenkreuz. It holds a doctrine of theology built in the Essenic truths. I really should put glasses on when I read, Bill. Let's see. It follows an ancient path which, concealed from the average man, provide insight into nature, the physical universe, and the spiritual realm. The Rosicrucian is the symbol of the rosy rose cross, which is also found in certain rituals beyond craft or Blue Lodge Freemasonry. Freemasons, huh?
Yeah, that brings up the Freemasons. So, very interesting.
Oh, you were right on then, because you said it was a secret society type deal.
Something like that, yeah. I wish I could tell you guys more about it, but I don't know a whole lot about the Order of the Rosicrucian. I'm wondering if it's kind of like the Masons and, secret order of the Masonic Lodge. I come from a long line of them on my dad's side. So it's a very It's interesting. That's another topic we can just jump right into. Masons. Do you know a whole lot about that? Or
I know one Freemason. And, he showed me a handshake, and that was it. He won't say too much about it. He said they meet. He said they're in every single area of the United States, probably the world. He told me the United States, but he told me he can show up to any town and have a place to stay. All he said, yep. I don't know if that's 100% true. I don't know, but I know one.
I think it depends on rank, too. I mean, after the 33rd degree, you don't talk about it anymore. That's the highest degree. There are higher degrees, but from what I've been told, it's considered more of the Illuminati effect. After the 33rd degree, there's secrets that you're involved in that cannot be shared to anybody, not even your own family, is my understanding. Now, like I said, I did my ancestral background and my dad's side. My mother's side's Italian, my dad's side's English, Canadian, and Scottish, and I got back to early 1800s, and all these records showed Masons, Freemasons, and then I find out, I went and saw my grandmother's gravestone up in Spokane, Washington, with my grandfather, and I go there and I look up, and there's a Freemason emblem on their tombstones, and I'm going, wow, these people, I gotta go research my family tree, because my dad never talked about it. I asked him, why aren't you a Mason? He looked at me and he goes, because I don't need to rule the world. I don't need to control people. Blah, 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 blah. I was like, why are you saying that? I never understood it, Bill, until I started getting into all this paranormal conspiracy theory stuff. I thought, that's a very odd comment from my father.
Exactly right. Are you interested in conspiracy theories? Like, is that a...
Oh, yes.
Again,
there are some, yes.
After the show, I'm going to send you some information. A friend of mine,
okay.
He actually works for the government, and I'm sure he will do your show. And
wow, yes.
Amazing. He has this security level that's insane, but you'll enjoy being in touch with this guy. So
I would love to. Yes, I do the conspiracy theories. I've had a few people on before, not when I was with this network, but with another network. And I actually did it when it's not really a conspiracy theory because it was actually fact, and it was about election fraud and how all these politicians are involved in it, and it doesn't make either party look good. They're all involved. What it shows me is that they're all crooks. I don't care if they hold the big D or the big R. I just shook my head, but that's not really a conspiracy theory. That's kind of true. That's true. But, I've had people on my show when I was doing AM all about 9/11. I actually have a friend here in town that has a TV show, local public broadcasting. I think it's called The Conspiracy Files, and he goes on and talks about all kinds of conspiracy theories. Some are unbelievable. Some are like so off the wall, but sometimes you're so off the wall that you have to sit back and go, maybe it's possible. Maybe that's what they want us to think.
Well, let me tell you something. The people I've talked to, you know how tuned in and turned on America is? Like, nobody in this, homeless people have cell phones and iPads and shit. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has everything. You cannot hide in our country. Some other countries, you can hide a little bit, but with satellites, with technology, it's very, very hard to hide. I was talking to my friend about it. You can't hide in this country. It's impossible.
Oh, no. It is impossible. I actually have a godfather who he was in Vietnam, and the war messed him up pretty bad, and he has a cell phone that is as old as time. And I for the life of me, the last time I saw him a couple of years ago, I could not understand. So it's 2000, this is like 2012. It's 2012, and why do you have a phone that is like one of the original cell phones that ever came out? He won't upgrade, he won't do this, he won't do that. I couldn't understand it. He looks at me and he goes, this is the only make and model with no tracking device. And I'm going, it was then I started thinking, you're right. We can't hide. You're right, Bill. We can't hide from anybody. They'll find us.
Yeah.
They can sit at the computer.
Exactly right. It's all work from home now. and they don't rely just on cell phones and things like that. You know, we have a show coming up with the guy I'm telling you about, and
right after mine, right?
What's that?
Is it tonight? Right after mine?
No. This is going to be. I think our show's in February with him.
Oh, okay.
But you know, we had conversations. You have no idea what's being monitored. Nobody does. He talks about it a little bit. Even small people like me, I'm not a millionaire. My bank account is monitored. My transactions are monitored. Everybody's Facebook is monitored. Everybody's Twitter is monitored. It's going to... That shows... Oh, Danielle just told me it's February 18th is when he's on.
Okay.
But it's scary, kind of.
It is scary. Facebook especially. It's funny we should bring that up. I know I seem like I have ADD. I'm going from one topic to another topic, but this is a lighthearted conversation of just about things in general. And you bring up Facebook, and I find it really interesting. Here's a conspiracy theory for you, and I don't know how true it is. I haven't researched it. The kid who owns Facebook, I can't remember his name. You know, the rich guy.
Yeah. It was
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg, I think.
Zuckerberg.
Yeah, that movie, Social Network. I love the movie.
I haven't seen that yet. I'm going to have to go and see that. Zuckerberg. They say now they is stuff I hear on like Coast to Coast AM and some other radio shows I listen to late at night when I can't sleep. They were talking about Zuckerberg. When he was younger, he changed his name. And the reason he had his name changed is because his last name was a Rothschild. And I'm sure that name, Rothschild, it's a big conspiracy theory name with the Illuminati, the Rothschild family fortune. They're pretty much one of the 7 or 12 families that pretty much control everything. The global market, money, economy, anything you can think of, a Rothschild has control. No, they're saying that Zuckerberg had his name changed as a younger boy, I don't remember what age, from Rothschild to Zuckerberg, and then created Facebook as a perfect vessel to spy on the public and the world. And my God, it's genius. It's absolutely true. It's like the CIA. It's a free portal for the CIA to just look at everything.
Do you think that it was created in cooperation with the government? Is that what you think? Is that what you're saying?
It could be, because I kind of see our government as, and not just our government, the government, you know, we think that Old England was the original establishment of money, and that's where all that power comes from, in England. And I think in the Rothschild, they are from that part of the world, English. And they're, Rothschild is one, Rockefeller is another name. The Rockefellers, New York, they're you know, a holder of all kinds of things in New York, Rockefeller Center, you know, I mean, that's another big family name. But I do think that this Facebook was created, and it's genius. It's genius, and it's made him billions.
Well, if we can find somebody to talk to on Facebook, they can monitor my bank account They can see where I'm going all day. But let my Farmville load faster. You know, we got to get a hold of somebody. Every time I try to launch a game and my Facebook slows down, help me out.
Yeah, there's been some interesting things on Facebook. And Facebook, anyway, what do I say nicely about Facebook? It's hard to say. I mean, it's been great to communicate with, like, relatives back east and friends around the world. And because you and I both do radio, isn't it a wonderful vessel for advertising? I mean,
oh, it's amazing. It's awesome.
It is. It's a wonderful thing for advertising, but you read articles. Marriages have gone into divorce because of Facebook.
No, just social media in general.
Like bullying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotten out of hand in some ways, but it's, you know, I know a couple of guys that are cops here in this town, and they were saying, you know, sometimes we bust our crooks just by going on Facebook and looking at their page. It's easy sometimes. Sometimes it's hard, but sometimes it's easy. You know, that's why you got
to work.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, this kid I worked, he worked there right before I did, but he got fired from where I work for posting all this horrible stuff about the place he works at while he's sitting at Sonic waiting for his lunch. And our boss has Facebook. When you really don't put that, everybody puts their life on there.
Yeah, well, there's just some things I won't post on there. You know, and I think some people do that for attention. I really do. I mean, if you're going to post something that is kind of personal and private, and I mean, I post stuff, you know, FML, I say that all the time, ... feeling frustrated. That's one thing, you know. But to post something, you know, I don't know. What I define as personal, what someone else defines as personal is obviously two different things, but there's just some things you just don't talk about on Facebook.
Exactly. Like, I get passionate about certain things. I'm a huge, oh my gosh, I hope I don't turn off all your listeners and everything, but I'm a huge Cowboys fan. And I will go to town on Facebook during the Cowboys game, whatever. But if I'm having personal problems in my life, you know, things happen. If I'm going to buy a soda, if I'm, you know, it doesn't matter. I don't post a whole lot on social media. And never anything too personal, but it's fun to connect and get feedback and things like that, you know, especially sports and things you're kind of passionate about. But people, I mean, you're on social media, Linda. You see people kind of live their life on there and post every single thing they're doing. And
it's very true. I mean, I've seen people post what they're eating, you know,
exactly.
That. You know, sometimes I'll post what I'm watching, like if I'm watching a horror movie, you know, because I want to get the reaction. I want to hear what my friends have said about the movie. Oh, it's not that good. Feedback. I will post stuff like that, but, you know, I won't post, oh, I just got in a fight with my boyfriend. And, no.
Exactly. It's just too much. Some of it's just too much. You know?
It is. And then there's the bullying. I see bullying all the time on here. You know, we've had children take their lives because of the Facebook bullying and the things that have been said about them on Facebook. We've seen it through the years. That's just hard.
I know. You never... I don't know how old you are. I'm just scared to say that...
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you first. I know what I'm going to say. Don't worry.
I just remember when I was a kid, you know, we didn't have cell phones, and if you wanted to be a badass or whatever, you had to either call somebody on a landline and actually talk to them, or walk up to them in school, or do whatever you're going to do and be a badass. You can't just text and Facebook that you're a badass, you know, when I was a kid. Everybody's talking now. You know?
I'm 45, and I actually just had a birthday, and that's something that I have in common with your lovely Danielle. We both share January 4th as our birthday.
Exactly. That's awesome.
So she's Italian and a goat. I love it. But yeah, I remember those days. You didn't have a cell phone. You used your imagination. You know.
Right. Yeah.
I always tell my kids, I'm going to take your, they have one of those things, it's like a Nook, but it's a Kindle Fire. It takes it everywhere.
A tablet, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, pry it away. It's almost like they become like obsessed. It's like a drug. Like it's like a little kid they want a cigarette. You know, someone who's smoking, I need a cigarette, That's how my kids are with their tablets. They're like going through withdrawals if they don't have it. And it's like, all right, this isn't good. This is not good at all. But that's social media, and that's what it's become. And getting off, I don't want to get off the subject, but you can thank Zuckerberg. He's the conspirator of this.
That's freaking awesome. I'm have to research that more, Linda. I watched the movie, and to me, he was just this smart kid. Got in with some kind of other smart kids, and they came up with this smash up and whatever. And then, but that's awesome. Like I like that theory a lot better than the movie theory.
Well, it's definitely interesting. And like I said, I have no proof there's any validity to it. I'm going to reiterate that on my show again, just so, someone doesn't come back and go, but you said this. I haven't researched it exclusively. This is obviously something I've heard on TV, and I've read a few articles about it. And I've heard it on other radio shows. So it is something I would like to research more and maybe do a show on it one night, about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, I wanted to kind of jump into the whole UFO thing. What are some of, you have some very interesting guests. Have you had any guests on that have, I don't want to say pretty much confessed that there's life out there, but any kind of guests that you've had on that have been very enlightening on this subject matter?
So far, one, like we're trying really hard. You know how many, well, you probably do because you're into it. It's hard to find somebody who's very credible. And we want to be really professional. We want to be really credible. And, the conspiracy guy I was telling you about, that works for the government and everything else, his clearance allows him to certain documents and everything else. There's protocols to UFO encounters. There's protocols to UFO where when we capture aliens. There's protocols for everything. So there's a lot of things that I think. Gosh, it's hard to put into words, really.
I know.
He couldn't say specific things, but what he told me and where he grew up in northern New York, where there was an airfield and he saw weird stuff and some of the documents he saw, he told me without a doubt, because it was all declassified, he told me without a doubt, we have recovered spacecraft, and there's no doubt, before I even talked to him, there was no doubt in my mind that that aliens are among us, or they visit us, or whatever. You just see from the same things you've researched, the same things I've researched, the hieroglyphics, the pictures, it's what do you think? There's no doubt in my mind that they've been here and they keep coming here. What do you think?
Well, my theory is going to be very off the wall, probably, but that's okay. I think so many abductions and so many people witnessing stuff in the sky or actually having something, physically happen to them, an abduction. Unfortunately, he's not alive anymore, but I don't know if you remember Dr. Lear. Dr. Lear was this doctor who specialized in removing foreign objects from people who had been abducted.
The implants, right?
The implants. So with that being said, this is an MD, a doctor, who was it was very sad to see him leave this world because he was a great service to science, medicine, and UFOlogy, all combined into one. But you can't sit there and, the government wants you to be like sheep in the bed. And the government uses the media as that tool. And so people sit there and watch TV and they believe everything that they're hearing on the TV. But yet people have video cameras and cell phones and are videotaping stuff. I've seen stuff in the sky with my naked eye, not just from the Skywatch. I've seen things, and I actually have a friend. I'm trying to get him on the show. He's local. I think he's affiliated with MUFON out of the Monterey Peninsula, but I'm not positive on that. He sent me footage not even a month ago. I'd say this is around Christmas time, of things he has seen right here in my own backyard. He's in the town over from me, Carmel Valley, and it's the valley, so it's very rural, and, there's not a whole lot of street lights like here where I live. And he sent me pictures of triangled shaped ships in the sky that he was catching with his cell phone, and the other guy was catching with a video camera.
Can I tell you something about that?
Yeah. Could be government.
You're touching on 47 different things that the guy that Andy Curtis, Danielle put it on the chat room. You know what he calls people? He calls them sheeple. You just said sheep, and yep. He said that media pretty much runs everything. Most of the things I was on I co-hosted a show a little while back, just this last Sunday actually, with our good friend Rocky Stucci, and that's what it was about, was some structures on the moon, some ufology stuff. Well, most of the video, pictures, structures in places, they're not like saucers, they're not circular, they're triangular, just like you were saying. And
I think they come in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah, not everything is a Toyota or a Chevy, but you're coming from planet B232 or freaking X7742. Things are going to be different. But we had a huge discussion about, or a very powerful thing about that, where it goes into a entirely different direction too. Where are you familiar with string theory or dimensions and things like that?
Yes, and quantum leaps and
yes. I think that some of this, even paranormal ghosts or aliens or things like that, they could be us a billion years in the future. Coming back.
Time warp. Yep.
Right.
Sure. And sometimes I think some of these things, like aliens that we see, are there's time traveled back in time. Obviously, they're from the future. It's very, very fascinating topic. A couple of years ago, I saw something with my naked eye, and the only reason I saw two of them. Only reason I saw it is because I had my telescope out that night, and I was looking at, there was an alignment, Venus and Mars, and you could see 3 or 4 planets with the visible eye, but even better with a telescope. And like I said, I'm an astrologer. I'm fascinated with the stars. So, I was looking up, and I kind of saw this weird black thing, and I thought it was a bug on the lens. And I look up into the sky, completely silent. I wouldn't say it was oval shaped, like an oval, like a typical UFO saucer, but completely black, both of them, completely silent, and we're just flying through the Salinas Valley. And I was looking probably southeast in the night sky, and they were flying away from me, and they were completely silent. I saw it with my naked eye. I was speechless for a minute, and because I said to people, "Am I really seeing this?" And then they disappeared. They flew so fast that they just disappeared. I don't want to say it was UFO because it could be it could be us. It could be our government's, let's face it, that's where our military has gotten their technology.
You're exactly right. You remember the boom in technology from like the 40s to the 60s or 70s? I mean,
yep.
Just in our aeronautics program, like from World War II until Vietnam. What happened with
it since Roswell? Ever since Roswell, it exploded. Microwaves, Velcro. Lockheed Martin. Have you ever heard of him? You ever heard of the company Lockheed Martin?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's a conspiracy theory out there about that, and on I don't know which one it was, on his deathbed, he admitted that they got all of this technology with supersonic speed, and back in the era you're talking about, 40s, 50s, all from that crash in Roswell or from alien technology. He admitted that it's alien technology.
Yep.
Whether that's a conspiracy theory or not, that remains to be seen. But going on, I don't want to shift gears from UFOs to conspiracy theories, but okay, remember that Flight 370 that just vanished? Poof! It's the conspiracy theory of the century, I call it. The Malaysian Flight 370 that vanished and they never found it.
Yeah.
Okay. The interesting thing about that particular flight disappearing is 19 people on board that flight were some sort of engineers or scientists that dealt with high-tech military operation stuff like cloaking device system where you can make an aircraft invisible. Those 19 people, 5 of those people were the inventors of it, or 4 of those people were the inventors of it, with the 5th one being Jacob Rothschild. He's still alive. Those 4 people are missing on that plane. He got all of the, I don't want to say copyrights because that's the music world, but he got all of the, I'm mind's a blank tonight, you guys. He got all the rights to it. The royalties, everything, because those 4 people passed away. They're presumed dead because they never found the plane. Those people that disappeared were able to create technology to make a plane disappear through a cloaking device that our military is going to be using in probably the next World War. And it's Jacob Rothschild and the Rothschild name that holds the rights to that and makes the profit off of that, along with a few other companies that are owned by the Rothschild. One comes out of Texas. I can't remember what it's called, but that's another conspiracy theory. But the cloaking device, that comes from UFO technology too.
It does. Like everything I've seen with the, whether it's the like mirroring thing or putting out some sort of electromagnetic thing where it doesn't pick up, where radar doesn't pick up. The stealth bomber, the stealth fighter, that stuff didn't just come up overnight. You know what I mean? Everything happened from the 40s until the 70s. And,
well, what's interesting, go ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'll never be convinced otherwise. That boost of technology, if you go back through history, there's never been that kind of a spurt in technology. And I know we created machinery and things like that, but give me a break.
It's true. You're absolutely right. The 40s first. After Roswell, it just took off. The type of astrology that I practice, I don't practice modern astrology, but there was a universal shift in 1945, and we left the age of Pisces and moved into the age of Aquarius. Now, modern astrologers say the age of Aquarius hit on 12/21/2012. You know, remember the whole big theory, oh my God, the world's going to end, the take cover, this, that. No,
did that have anything to do with the Mayan calendar?
Yes, the Mayan calendar. Everyone said, oh my God, it's ending. Oh my God. And this is just like the Y2K thing. We're still here, people. But that point in time, 1945, the planet shifted its energy from the Pisces age to the Aquarian age. The planet Uranus, and that rules UFOs, that rules nuclear war. And didn't we drop the bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima in 1944, 45?
Right.
Or was it 46? I can't remember. Then Roswell happened, and then this technology comes up, and then all of a sudden there's all these, even in medicine, I find some of the things that have come about in medicine, like with lasers, that is not man-made.
Exactly. And you know what? Lasers now are almost, they've gone beyond lasers now. Now it's, you know what they're trying to use lasers for now? Have you read any of this? They're wanting to use lasers to build an elevator to the moon, so people can go visit the moon.
Oh my God, I have not heard that one. That's a new one. Oh my God!
I'll send you some links. It's ridiculous. Like lasers, they're beyond lasers now. Now it's like, I don't remember. I read 47 articles about it, and it's crazy.
I believe it, though. I mean, just think about some of the people that have been abducted. I mean, I just saw this thing the other night about a lady who was 3 or 4 months pregnant, and they were abducted somewhere, I don't know, Ohio or the Midwest, and she came back, and she had no fetus. The doctor was like, what? There's no fetus. There were no marks on her body either. There was no incision, you know, like we would have to physically open her up and take the child out of her in order to do that. No incisions. It has to be done with lasers.
Yeah.
Of some sort, some kind of...
Or even something beyond that, you know what I mean? Like, we're beyond lasers now. They're already... I don't know. We're talking about aliens, we're talking about conspiracy theories, we're talking about ghosts, but I will tell you this.
Kind of go in hand in hand, though, don't they?
No, they do. And don't you think that in the conspiracy theory vein, how much money does the government or pharmaceuticals make treating cancer or treating disease?
Oh, Bill, that's
serious, right?
That's a topic for a whole other show, and I've done a show. I'm trying to get Tommy Chong on my show because he healed himself holistically from prostate cancer by using just cannabis oil and juicing and eating vegetables. And they were pissed at him because he wouldn't go through the radiation and this and the that. So that's a topic It's a whole other show, and it's a good one, too, because he said, oh, yeah, I wouldn't touch that stuff, because it's kind of ironic that the very thing I love to smoke, the oil from it healed me. Then he went on Dancing with the Stars, and I could never get him again. I was like, okay, Cheech. You forgot, Chong, you forgot.
Oh, yeah.
Chong. But too funny. I'm trying to get him on the show one of these days, but, like, it's a man-made disease, cancer.
It is, but it's also, they don't want to cure it. I'm sure there's a cure out there. It's probably a freaking aspirin you eat like an M&M, but they make a lot of money treating it. They don't want to cure it.
They do, and it's really, really sad. I can tell you some stories about things I know, but can you believe an hour went by already, Bill?
No, that's awesome. I've had a blast on here.
I have had a blast, too. You've got to come on my show and join me again, because I just love talking about this stuff. I don't have a whole lot of people in my world to get into. You know, the paranormal, the ghost stuff, yes, I know many people, but the UFO stuff, the conspiracy theory stuff, I don't have too many people that like to talk about it. So it was just really a pleasure to have you on and just chat about it a little bit.
Well, I appreciate it. And can I just yell out our website real quick? And
please do. Give all the information. You got it.
Check out our website at www.incubyincarnate.com. Follow us on Twitter at incubyincarnate. Like us on Facebook at incubyincarnate. And thanks so much for having us on, Linda. It's been a blast, and we need to have you on our show. You're awesome.
I would love to, anytime. And you've been an absolute delight tonight. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, and great show. You do a good job.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening, Bill, and all of you out there. Thank you for joining me tonight. We will return again next week for another round of Alpha Star Radio. Get ready for the Godfather and his Paranormal Lounge. See you guys next week. Good night.